I am 63 years old, and I am telling you right now, from this hospital bed, with tubes in my arm and poison in my bloodstream, the cancer is not the worst thing I'm feeling, not even close. There's a mug on this tray table next to me, ceramic, white, or it used to be white. It's gone that yellowish color things get when they've been through too many dishwasher cycles and too many years. On the side, in faded blue letters, it says, "World's Best Dad." My daughter gave it to me on Father's Day when she was 9. She picked it out herself at a drugstore, wrapped it in tissue paper that was too thin, so I could see the words through the wrapping before I even opened it. She was so proud. There's a crack running right through the middle of that mug, a jagged line that splits the word best clean in half, B on one side, st on the other. The crack is rough under your fingers. I know because I feel it every morning when I pick the mug up to drink whatever lukewarm coffee they serve in this place. My fingers find that ridge automatically, the way your tongue finds a chipped tooth. You can't stop going back to the damage. The mug still holds liquid, barely. If you pour too much, it seeps through. A slow, thin trail that bleeds across the tray table. So I pour carefully now. I pour less than the mug can hold. There's a metaphor in there somewhere, and it's not lost on me. This hospital ward sounds like a machine that never sleeps. Monitors beeping in different rhythms, never quite syncing up. Rubber shoes squeaking on linoleum. The hiss and click of the morphine drip every few minutes. Someone coughing 3 rooms down. And in between all of that, this aggressive, constant quiet. The kind of quiet that isn't peaceful. The kind that feels like it's waiting for something bad to happen. There's a get well card propped up next to the mug. Some floral thing from a pharmacy rack. Nobody signed it personally. Just, "Get well soon, the family," in my wife's handwriting. The family, like a corporation, like a department sending condolences to an outgoing employee they were never close with. The cancer I can medicate. They have drips for that, pills, schedules. A team of people in white coats who tell me what's happening and what comes next. But the regret has no dosage, no drip, no pill, no specialist. It just sits there on my tray table, cracked and full of cold coffee, staring at me with 2 faded blue words that stopped being true a long time ago. Let me tell you about the man who cracked that mug. I was the kind of father who believed that being right was the same as being strong. I don't mean I thought about it and came to that conclusion. I mean it was wired into me like instinct, like breathing. Every conversation in my house was something I needed to win, not participate in, not enjoy. Win. Dinner was the worst. My wife would cook, and she cooked well. The whole house would smell like pot roast and rosemary and warm bread. And the 4 of us would sit down, and within 10 minutes I'd have turned some innocent comment from one of my kids into a lecture. My son would mention something he'd heard at school, some opinion, some half-formed thought the way teenagers have, and I'd correct him, not gently, precisely, surgically. I'd dismantle whatever he said with facts and logic and that particular tone I had, the one that said, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed that you didn't think harder. My wife would go quiet when I did this. She'd stop eating, put her fork down gently, and stare at her plate. I thought that meant she agreed with me. I thought her silence was support. It wasn't. It was surrender. There's a difference. And it took me 30 years and a diagnosis to learn it. My kids stopped sharing opinions at the table. I didn't notice because the table got quieter, and I mistook quiet for order. I thought I'd raised disciplined children. I'd raised careful ones. Children who learned to test the air before they spoke, to read my face before they opened their mouths, to calculate whether saying something was worth the correction they'd receive. My son brought home a B+ once. Math. He was 15. He put the paper on the kitchen counter with this cautious little half smile, the kind of smile you give when you're hoping for the best but bracing for the worst. I picked it up, looked at it, and said, "What happened to the other 4 points?" That's all I said. I didn't yell, I didn't hit anything. I just asked a question. But the way his face fell, the way that half smile collapsed, I can see it right now from this hospital bed more clearly than I can see the ceiling above me. I never apologized for anything. Not for the B+ comment, not for the lectures, not for the silence I created and then complained about. Apologies were weakness. Apologies meant you were wrong, and I was never wrong. I was thorough. I was firm. I was building character. That's what I told myself while I was building walls. I thought my house was orderly. It was terrified. And I was the last one to know, because frightened people don't announce their fear to the person they're afraid of. Now let me tell you about a Thursday night. A Thursday night that I have replayed 10,000 times in this bed, in the dark, when the morphine wears off and the only thing left is memory. I was in the kitchen. My daughter was 16. She said something, and I need you to hear this clearly. I cannot remember what she said. I have tried. I have lain in this bed at 3 a.m, staring at the ceiling tiles, retracing every step of that evening, and I cannot recall what the argument was about. Curfew, a boyfriend, a grade, a tone of voice I didn't like. It's gone. The cause is completely, permanently gone. But the effect is sitting on my tray table right now, with a crack through the word best. She challenged me. That much I remember. She stood in that kitchen, fluorescent light buzzing overhead, the way it always did, that faint electrical hum that made everything feel slightly clinical. And she pushed back. She said something that questioned my authority, or my logic, or my right to control everything in that house. And I felt something rise in me that I'd felt 100 times, but had never examined. Not anger exactly. Something older, something inherited, the need to be obeyed. My wife stepped in. She said my name, soft, the way she said it when she was trying to de-escalate without making me feel challenged. That careful, measured voice she developed over 20 years of navigating me like I was weather. And I slammed the mug down on the counter. The crack was loud, not like glass, like bone. A thick, dull snap, and then the sound of coffee hitting the tile floor, splashing across the white tile and spreading in a dark pool that reached the edge of my daughter's shoe. The kitchen went silent. Not quiet, silent. The kind of silence that isn't an absence of sound, but a presence of something else. Something heavy and permanent that fills the room like smoke. The fluorescent light buzzed. The faucet dripped. One drop, then another, hitting the stainless steel basin with a small metallic plink that sounded enormous in that silence. The coffee dripped off the counter edge onto the floor. Nobody moved. My wife's hands were trembling. I could see them shaking as she reached for the paper towel roll. She didn't look at me. She looked at the floor, at the coffee, at anything that wasn't my face. She tore off a sheet of paper towel so slowly and so carefully, like she was afraid any sudden movement would set me off again. And my daughter looked at me, not with anger, not with fear exactly, although there was fear in it. She looked at me with recognition. That's the word that haunts me, recognition. Like she was seeing something she'd suspected for a long time and had just gotten confirmation. Like a doctor reading a test result, clinical, clear, final. She looked at me and she recognized exactly what kind of man her father was. She didn't yell, she didn't cry, she didn't slam a door. She just turned around and walked out of the kitchen, quietly. Her sneakers barely made a sound on the tile, stepping around the coffee puddle. She walked down the hall. I heard her bedroom door close. Not slam, close. That soft click that's so much worse than a slam, because a slam means there's still fight left. A click means the decision has been made. She stopped telling me things after that night. Not all at once, slowly, the way a faucet that drips eventually runs dry. She stopped mentioning friends, stopped sharing stories, stopped asking for advice. She didn't become rude or rebellious. She became polite. And if you've ever had a child go from real to polite, you know that polite is the most devastating distance a kid can create. The mug survived that night. I picked it up off the counter afterward and saw the crack and almost threw it away. My wife said, "Don't." That's all she said. One word. She washed it, dried it, put it back in the cabinet. I think she kept it as evidence. I think she kept it because the crack told the truth that nobody in that house was allowed to say out loud. Now I'm here, stage 4, hospital bed. The mug is on my tray table because my wife brought it from home when I was admitted. She didn't ask if I wanted it. She just unpacked my things, placed the mug on the tray beside the morphine drip, and left. I don't know if it was an act of kindness or an act of confrontation. Maybe both. Maybe after 35 years with a man like me, kindness and confrontation become the same thing. My daughter visits once a week, 15 minutes. She sits in the chair closest to the door, like she's mapped her exit before she's even said hello. She asks how I'm feeling. I say I'm fine. She nods. We talk about nothing. We fill 15 minutes the way you fill a cracked mug, carefully, never too much, always watching for the leak. My son calls, Tuesdays and Saturdays. The calls last about 6 minutes. Weather, sports, logistics. Do you need anything, Dad? No, I'm good. Okay, talk soon. Click. Two people performing the ritual of a relationship without any of the substance. I hear other patients on this ward getting visitors. I hear balloons being tied to bed rails, children laughing, voices overlapping with warmth and chaos. The room 3 doors down has so many visitors the nurses have to enforce the limit. The man across the hall has a wife who reads to him every afternoon. I can hear her voice through the wall, steady and soft, turning pages. My tray has a cracked mug and a card signed by the family. Every morning I wrap my fingers around that mug and feel the crack under my thumb. That ridge, that jagged little line that maps exactly what I did. Not with my fist. I never hit anyone. I need you to know that. I never laid a hand on my children or my wife. But I learned something in this bed that I wish I'd learned in that kitchen. You don't have to hit someone to make them flinch. You just have to make them afraid of the sound you'll make next. Now I'm going to talk to you, directly. No more story, just you and me. You think you're strong because you don't apologize. You think standing your ground makes you a man. You think being right at the dinner table, in the argument, in the car ride home, is some kind of victory. You're not strong. You're loud. There's a difference, and your family knows it even if you don't. The people you love are not your opponents. Your wife's silence is not agreement. Your children's obedience is not respect. And the quiet house you come home to is not a well-run household. It's a museum where everyone has learned not to touch anything because the last time someone did, something cracked. Go find the person you owe an apology to. Tonight, not tomorrow. Not when the time is right. The time is never right for an apology. That's what makes it cost something. Say it ugly. Say it stammering. Say it with tears running down your face and your voice cracking like cheap ceramic. It doesn't matter how it sounds. It matters that you said it while they're still in the room to hear it. Being right will not keep you warm in a hospital bed. Being right will not fill the chair beside you. Being right will not uncrack a mug or undo the flinch you put in your daughter's shoulders on a Thursday night over something so unimportant you can't even remember what it was. The mug says world's best dad. The crack says otherwise. And my family agrees with the crack.